I have to come with it all. I have to do more. Obviously, just to secure the win is doing just enough to get a draw. So I have to push harder. I have to train harder. I have to be more mean. I have to be more physical. I have to do a lot. I have to do everything just a little more. And I think that will definitely put me over the hump. And
is it gonna be a rematch, or y'all still working on it, or what's the plan?
It's gonna be a rematch.
But it's not
9 times out of 10,
sealed
like,
to deliver yet.
Yeah, it's on the way.
Okay.
I'm gonna
Davis and Lamont Roach are set for a rematch, and this time, it's personal. Their first fight ended in controversy, fueling an even fiercer rivalry now. Both fighters are determined to settle the score once and for all. The showdown is scheduled for June 21st in Las Vegas, and judging by the intensity from both camps, this one won't be left in the hands of the judges. Tank has already sent a warning to Roach, saying he won't even make it to the final rounds. But Roach isn't backing down. He's confident he'll beat Tank again.
But, yes, and after I beat him the second time, I probably would ask the WBA to let me go up to 140 and fight Raya.
Hasn't held back his frustration, particularly with referee Willis. He believes Willis made several bad calls that changed the fight's outcome, like giving Davis extra time to recover after taking a knee and ignoring what Roach claims were illegal moves in the corner. In Roach's eyes, the officiating cost him a rightful victory.
Be getting that rematch. I think that's really big, man. If we do get that rematch on June the 21st, I believe that'll be big news. I believe that'll be big, man. So if we can get that fight, man, that would be...
Hell no. He can't ref the next fight. Roach vented. It is what it is. Just look at how many times he messed things up. The knee. Davis going to the corner for help. While Roach didn't outright accuse Davis of cheating, he made it clear that his opponent benefited from some questionable calls. You can't do that. That's a disqualification.
Hairs like sweat gonna get in your eye, blood gonna get in your eye.
Yeah.
Spit fuck around and get in your eye. You know what I'm saying? But it's not like you can be like, all right, time out, ref. Hold on, ref. You can't do that.
Right. Would you be cool with Steve Willis doing the next fight?
Hell no.
He can't do the next fight.
No, he can't do the next fight.
Right.
And his team even took things a step further, filing a petition with the NYSAC to overturn the decision. But their request was quickly denied. With no other options left, Roach set his sights on securing an immediate rematch. Now, that fight is almost official. I'm telling you right now, I'm signed and sealed. Roach confirmed, making it clear that the only thing left is for Davis to do the same.
Match right now. Roach Tank, Haney Garcia.
Roach Tank. I mean, first of all, Tank. First of all, Tank is just bigger than Haney and Ryan both. And recency bias, that just happened. Haney was last year. This just happened. More people, like Haney didn't get a song. Well, he did get a song. But that's what I'm saying. His song is dead or dying out. Tank's is popping. Like, it's Tank's time right now. Tank is in our mind more than Haney.
On the other side, Davis has been keeping quiet. Unlike Roach, he hasn't gone on media rants or pointed fingers. Instead, he's locked himself in training, cutting out all distractions and preparing with a new level of focus. Inside his camp, the talk is that Davis has taken all the criticism personally and is using it as fuel. He knows what people are saying, said Calvin Ford when asked about Tank. That's why he's not messing around this time. No distractions, no outside noise. He's coming to make a statement. Davis finally broke his silence, making one thing clear: he has no plans to let the fight go the distance. I ain't letting this one go to the judges, Davis said. This time, I'm closing the show.
I definitely could have. That was on me too. That was on me for sure. Cause I ain't pick it up when I supposed to pick it up. And I could have definitely did more. He caught me with a good shot, but it was times that I sat in there with him and I'm like, damn, this guy like super slow. Well, not super slow, but he's slow. And I could have.
The WBA has already confirmed that the rematch is mandatory, meaning Davis either accepts the fight or risks losing his title. But even if the belt weren't on the line, Tank wouldn't hesitate. He's not here for technicalities. He wants to leave no doubts. As far as he's concerned, Roach was lucky to hear the final bell the first time, and this time, he's determined to finish the job. Roach, however, believes he has the formula to win. He spotted weaknesses in Davis's approach, took advantage of them early, and forced the champion into uncomfortable situations where he had to adjust.
He got decent power. He got decent power for sure. I ain't gonna say it's exaggerated. I told you I got a chin. I ain't going like that. It's just not gonna happen. But like I said, I see why he knocked people out, and I think he felt my power too. Like, I think that's what negated a lot of his shots. And once I took his best shot, I was like, oh yeah, it's time to roll.
Movement, counterpunching, and discipline made the fight competitive and in his mind. That should have been enough to earn the win. But Davis's power was a game changer, and Roach knows that avoiding it for 12 rounds is no easy task. Negotiations for the rematch have been moving quickly, with both sides eager to settle the score. Roach's promoter, Gary Jonas, confirmed that they're just waiting for the final paperwork, but the fight is basically a done deal, with Las Vegas as the stage and the controversy from their first fight still fresh. This rematch is shaping up to be something huge.
Everyone's mind, how close is the rematch? How big will it be? How close is it to getting done?
Very close. It's in my mind, it's a done deal, but there are formalities, but it's a done deal and it's not far off. I can't give you more than that right now, but what I can tell you is that it's going to be an interesting fight. I think you got dynamics. You've got Gervonta, who's probably going to be angry, probably woken up, probably more focused than he has been, not talking about retirement. That's a factor.
Is confident, but also cautious. He's not underestimating Davis, but he firmly believes he has what it takes to outbox him. In his mind, the biggest problem wasn't Davis, it was the officiating. He's pushing for a neutral referee and a fair fight, convinced that under those conditions, he'll prove he's the better fighter. Davis, on the other hand, sees things completely differently to him. Roach was just surviving, not winning. He never felt he was in any real danger, and believes Roach spent more time avoiding than fighting. That's why this time, Davis is coming in with a far more aggressive mindset. He's hunting for a knockout, and he's not keeping it a secret.
He was coming up a weight.
Right.
And coming up a weight, and you're fighting immediately the head of the class. And what you and Cannon have taught me about weight classes they are important. They are in place for a reason. So don't just sit here and just act like he was just like that. Now, he came out there and fought an amazing fight. He had an amazing game plan, and I immediately really want...
It ain't going well, Davis said. I'm ending this early, watch me. But in the middle of all this, Terrence Crawford has jumped in to stir the pot even more. Crawford has been taking shots at Tank Davis, but not in the ring, through the media. He's been vocal about how Roach was robbed and that Tank should have lost. And now, he's hit Tank with something that might sting even more. Crawford is calling for Davis to fight Shocker Stevenson on the undercard of his September 13th showdown with Canelo Alvarez. Just like that, he's making headlines again. But is this really about boxing? Or is Crawford just trying to take another jab at Tank? Asterisk, asterisk.
If Tank was not so cocky to be on a Terrence Crawford undercard, that would be dope. But I don't see Tank taking a backseat to no fighter, because he'll think it's the Tank show. So I don't know, but it should be a good undercard.
Crawford knows exactly what he's doing by suggesting that Tank should be on his undercard. He's trying to push the idea that Davis isn't the true face of boxing. He's making it seem like Tank needs his platform for exposure. But let's be real, who really needs who here? If anything, it's Crawford, who could use Tank to boost his own fight. Tank doesn't need to be on anyone's undercard, his fights sell on their own. Meanwhile, Crawford's history with pay-per-view numbers isn't exactly great. Outside of his fight with Errol Spence, most of his PPV bouts have flopped, even against Canelo. There's a real chance his fight won't be the massive event he's hoping for.
Gervonta Davis speaking about you. Is that ever a possible fight?
Yeah, if he want to dare to be great, he can be like all the other fighters that moving up 2 weight classes and, daring to be great.
You would fight him.
Man, tell him to come up there.
He got to come to win 54.
He said I got a glass chin, so tell him to come and touch it.
Wow.
Crawford isn't just questioning Tank's status, he's also calling out his pride. He said, if Tank wasn't so cocky, being on my undercard would be dope. In other words, he's implying that Tank's ego is stopping him from making a smart business move. But let's be real, would Crawford ever fight on Tank's undercard? Of course not. That's why this whole thing feels more like a diss than a serious offer. Crawford is testing Tank, trying to get a reaction out of him, and let's be honest, he probably will. The tension between these two has been brewing for a while. Crawford has taken plenty of subtle shots at Tank before. He's called Shocker, Stevenson, and Keyshawn Davis, the best lightweights in boxing, completely ignoring everything Tank has accomplished.
It's either you or Keyshawn's gonna get Tank, dog.
Acted like Tank isn't even part of the conversation. But let's not forget this is the same Gervonta Davis who has knocked out 28 of his 31 opponents. The same Tank who has sold out arenas and shattered pay-per-view records. The same Tank who made Ryan Garcia quit with a body shot. Yet according to Crawford, Lamont Roach is the only fighter who has come close to beating him. Actually, Crawford, like many others, believes Roach did beat Tank. And that's the real reason he's pushing this narrative. Crawford is convinced that Tank is going to take a beating in the rematch. But why is he acting like Tank has something to prove? Maybe because, deep down, he knows Tank is a bigger star than he is. That's got to sting for someone who sees himself as one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. Crawford might be undefeated, but he hasn't built the same kind of global fan base that Tank has. And now, as he moves up to fight Canelo, he knows he needs every ounce of star power he can.
How you feel about that fight? Is it even possible at a catch weight?
Nah, ain't no catch weight. You come up to 47.
You're not even entertaining the catch weight.
No, I'm not.
He's a champ though too, undefeated.
And, what champ? Come on, man, tell me what belt. You know boxing. You forgot Devin Haney is undisputed. Devin Haney got all the belts. He the champ. Nobody else the champ. I'm gonna come up here where the big boys at.
All right.
Truth is, a fight between Tank and Shocker isn't happening anytime soon. And it's not just about pride, it's business. Shocker is a skilled fighter, but he doesn't draw big numbers. His style doesn't excite casual fans the way Tank's does. Tank has made it clear that if he's going to take a fight, it has to be worth it. And let's be honest, Shocker isn't bringing in huge pay-per-view sales, but a rematch with Ryan Garcia. Now that's money. If Tank is looking at his options, why settle for a fight with Shocker when he could make a massive payday with Ryan? Again,
Gestor asks, what's the potential matchup in boxing you would like to see next?
I would like to see Shakur versus Devin or Shakur versus Tank.
Ooh.
Those are the two big fights that I would like to see next.
Tank Davis, Shakur Stevenson. Who wins that fight right now?
Shakur. Shakur.
Wow.
And let's not ignore the bigger issue. Crawford and Tank aren't even in the same weight class. Crawford is fighting at 168 pounds, way beyond Tank's division. So why is he even talking about Tank? Simple, because he knows Tank is the real star. By mentioning Tank's name, he guarantees attention. But it's a risky move if he keeps taking shots at Tank. It's only a matter of time before Tank fires back. And if we know anything about Gervonta Davis, it's that he doesn't hold back.
People want to discredit Tank. He's still a pound-for-pound fighter.
Yeah. What do you think about that fight that happened? You thought it was just an off night, or?
Everybody has an off night. Everybody has an off night. I had a night with Cruz. Everyone has a night. It's boxing.
Rolando Romero believes Gervonta Davis will make the right adjustments to win the rematch against Lamont Roach. Speaking to the ring, he explained that Roach shocked the boxing world with his performance and may have even surprised himself. However, Romero is convinced that Davis won't let that happen again. He pointed out that Davis is a 3-division world champion and one of the greatest fighters of this generation. In his opinion, the rematch has to happen because the first fight left too many questions unanswered.
From what I've seen in the fight, I thought Lamont won, and I think the commission does need to do something with that knee, because if they don't, then all of us are going to think we could take a knee anytime we want. You know, they got to do something about it. I mean, they did something about me, you got to do something about other people. You know, rules are rules, right? Right. It's, you know, I like Tank though, personally, but a rule is a rule. You can't go and take a knee and then just expect that to be a knockdown. You know, you can't get away with it, stuff like that.
When you say 1 foot in boxing and 1 foot out.
Not everyone is convinced that adjustments alone will be enough. There's a growing belief that Roach didn't just have a good night. He exposed weaknesses in Davis's game. Some think Davis's struggles weren't just about underestimating Roach, but proof that he's not as dominant as people believed. Roach showed he could take Davis's power, walk him down, and make him uncomfortable. If Davis couldn't put Roach away the first time, why should it be any different in the rematch? Ryan Garcia, however, is fully backing Davis. Speaking to East News, he admitted that Davis probably thought the first fight would be easier than it was. He believes Davis expected Roach to fold under pressure, and when that didn't happen, it threw him off. But Garcia predicts a different Davis in the rematch one who's fully prepared for a tough fight. In his view, Davis wins this time simply by taking Roach more seriously.
They reversed the result of your fight.
Yeah.
Should they reverse the result of that fight as well?
Just depends. Like if that changes the whole fight, if that gives Roach a victory, give him the victory. That's how you keep the integrity of the sport, right? That's why they suspended me, right, to keep the integrity of the sport. So I feel like if you're gonna.
Garcia has his own history with Davis, and some fans think his support is more personal than objective. If Davis wins, it makes Garcia's loss to him look better. But if Roach delivers another strong performance, it raises questions about how good Davis really is. That's why Garcia will be watching closely, especially since a future rematch with Davis is still on the table. However, Garcia is also focused on his own path. He's set to fight Rolando Romero at Times Square in May, and if he wins, a rematch with Devin Haney is in the works. That could eventually lead to a second showdown with Tank.
Oh, y'all, what was going on? It was a hell of a fight. I just rewatched it. Just literally rewatched it. Seriously. Wow. Yeah, highway robbery is right. Highway robbery is right. Like, can't make this.
Bradley, on the other hand, isn't convinced that Davis deserved the draw. After watching the fight again, he changed his scorecard. Speaking on his YouTube channel, Bradley zeroed in on the moment when Davis took a knee. He didn't hold back, calling it a clear knockdown. He pointed out that Davis got hit, went down on one knee, and then tried to claim something was in his eye. Bradley wasn't buying that excuse. He reminded everyone that fighters can't just take their own timeouts in boxing. If Davis had an issue, it was up to the referee to step in. Bradley also mentioned that if Davis's braids were bothering him, that was his own mistake. He chose to wear them, and he had to deal with the consequences.
Is the fight a fight that should be on pay-per-view?
Hell no, bro. You like almost a 30-year-old prospect, dog. Fight the best. Fight Shakur. Oh, he tried to fight Lomachenko at the end. I already know what everybody.
Bradley went on to explain that after rewatching the fight, he now sees it as a clear win for Roach. He scored it either 7 rounds to 5 or even 8 rounds to 4 in Roach's favor. He made it clear that he wasn't trying to disrespect Davis, he just felt that Roach outworked him. In Bradley's opinion, Davis wasn't active enough, and Roach controlled more of the fight than people initially gave him credit for.
But just couldn't be D1. He's a D2 player. And I was showing love to Lamont and saying that he's a D2 player simply because he's not at the level that Tank is at.
But he's scoring the same amount of points at the D2 level.
But when you put them on the court in the one-on-one, say again?
Why can't he be mid-major? Why he got to be D2?
I want to make it significant, you know what I mean? Like,
everyone agrees with Bradley. Sean Porter, speaking on the Porter Way podcast, defended the draw. He acknowledged that many people felt Roach won, but he urged them to rewatch the fight before jumping to conclusions. Porter pointed out that just because Davis wasn't dominating the entire time, doesn't mean he lost every close round. He originally scored the fight as a draw and still stands by that decision.
The fact that Lamont Roach is as familiar with Tank Davis as he is, it goes beyond them fighting in the amateurs. They've spent time in camp together. He's been around Tank. He's seen Tank up close and personal, whether he's in the ring with them or not. That matters. When you know a guy's rhythm, when you know their speed, when you know what they're thinking, that changes everything, you know? Saying all this to say that because I know we got a lot of people. It don't matter. When he get hit, he go.
Porter did, however, admit that Roach fought an incredible fight. He said that if Roach had been awarded the win, he wouldn't have argued. But at the same time, he made it clear that if Roach had lost outright, then he would have had an issue with the decision, especially because of the knockdown moment. In Porter's eyes, the knockdown was legitimate, and Davis was lucky it didn't have a bigger impact on the final score.
I think in the rematch, I don't see it being, what'd you say, the rematch where he got knocked? Charlo against Harrison?
Yeah.
I don't see it being like that. I feel like Lamont Roach is going to start the pressure earlier, and he's still going to be ready.
Differing opinions highlight just how controversial the fight was. Some believe Davis was lucky to get a draw, while others think the result was fair. But one thing is certain, there's major pressure on Davis heading into the rematch. If he wins decisively, he can silence the critics. But if Roach pushes him to the limit again, or even pulls off the win, it could seriously hurt Davis's reputation as one of the top fighters in the sport.
That fight with Tank and Lamont Roach
shows y'all how protected Tank has been for the past several years. And the people saying, oh, Tank know Lamont and he been respected Lamont because they fought in the amateurs. Man, he was cherry picking Lamont, you know, and really thought he...
Also a bigger debate happening about Davis's place in boxing. Some believe he's been protected for too long and that the Roach fight was the first real test of his career. They argue that he's been carefully matched against opponents who weren't skilled or tough enough to expose his flaws. Now that someone has finally stood up to him, people are questioning whether Davis is as dominant as he's been made out to be. Others believe the rematch will settle everything. If Davis wins convincingly, it will prove the first fight was just an off night. But if he struggles again or worse, loses, it could change how the boxing world views him. The stakes are high, and Davis knows it. That's why he's expected to come into this fight with a completely different mindset. So what do you think? Drop your thoughts below and subscribe for more updates.